the best balloon giraffe in town. The rhythmic whoosh of the pump formed Barnaby's personal metronome amidst the boisterous clamour of Patch's party palace. Lily, a slight girl whose flaxen pigtails shimmered, followed his every move with rapt attention as he manipulated a long, sunny yellow balloon. It initially resisted, a stubborn coil in his grasp, but Barnaby possessed an intimate knowledge of the pliable material. A subtle pressure applied here, a deft nip there, and gradually, a familiar form began to materialize. Brown splotches, meticulously drawn, replicated a giraffe's distinctive pattern. A delighted giggle escaped Lily as he inflated a smaller sphere for the head, twisting it with well-honed skill. The neck, a graceful curve, seemed to lengthen before her very eyes. Finally, the small, alert ears completed the figure. "Here you are, Lily," a Barnaby murmured, his voice a low hum that barely penetrated the arcade's din at the finest balloon giraffe this side of the county. Lily gasped, her eyes ablaze with a light that rivaled the mirrored sphere overhead. "His magnificent." She hugged the creation tight, its elongated neck nearly matching her own height. "Thank you, Barnaby." Mr. Patches, his face a tapestry of lines reflecting years of managing sugar-induced frenzy, observed from the entrance of the inflated castle. He watched Barnaby with a smile that felt more like a business transaction. Lost in Lily's radiant joy, Barnaby remained oblivious to the calculating spark in his employer's gaze. He turned his attention to a group of boys clamoring for balloon swords, their make-believe clashes already in full swing. With practiced hands, Barnaby fashioned crimson and azure sabers, each personalized with a unique touch, a spiraled handle for one, a sharpened point for another. He reveled in their beaming faces, the unfeigned happiness blossoming in their eyes. He conjured a roseate poodle for a hesitant girl concealed behind her mother, gently drawing her out with kind words. For Barnaby, it transcended mere balloon artistry. It was about generating smiles, capturing fleeting instances of pure elation with his capable hands. It was about imbuing a touch of enchantment into Patch's party palace, a place that often resembled a happiness production line. He understood that his creations offered the children something genuine, a tangible keepsake. A memory, buoyant with delight, that would endure long after the celebration concluded and the confetti had been cleared away. A nervous summons. The summons came not in a booming announcement over the PA system, as Mr. Patches sometimes favored, but via a small, crumpled note delivered by Penelope the penguin, her usual waddle even more pronounced with the weight of the folded paper clutched in her flipper. Barnaby unfolded it with trepidation. "Mr. Patches requests your presence in his office. Immediately." The word "immediately" was underlined 3 times. Barnaby's stomach twisted. He'd thought he was in Mr. Patch's good graces after last week's successful pirate plunge party. Had he accidentally used too much glitter? Had a rogue toddler managed to dismantle the animatronic parrot? Mr. Patch's office was, as always, a controlled explosion of party paraphernalia. Streamers hung limply from the ceiling, like tired partygoers. Half-inflated balloons clustered in corners, their once bright colors faded. The air smelled faintly of stale popcorn and desperation. Mr. Patches sat behind his overflowing desk, a mountain range of inverses and promotional flyers threatening to engulf him. He looked pale, even for someone who spent most of his days indoors surrounded by neon lighting. "Barnaby, come in, he said, his voice reedy and strained. He gestured vaguely at a chair buried under a pile of oversized sombreros. Barnaby carefully excavated it and Saturday. Mr. Patches fidgeted, shuffling papers that didn't need shuffling. "Barnaby, you know I value your enthusiasm. Your creativity." Barnaby's anxiety ratcheted up a notch. Whenever Mr. Patches started with "I value your" routine, It usually preceded some sort of difficult conversation. "The thing is, Barnaby," Mr. Patches continued, avoiding eye contact. "Things need to change. Here at Patches' Party Palace." He cleared his throat. A dry, rustling sound. "The market, it's evolving. We need to modernize." Barnaby frowned. Modernize? Like fresher balloons? Mr. Patches offered a weak smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It's more complicated than that, Barnaby. We need to streamline. Become more efficient." He paused, then blurted, "He attract a younger demographic." Barnaby felt a chill crawl up his spine. The words were vague, innocuous even, but the tone, the way Mr. Patches kept glancing nervously at the door, it all felt ominous. He had a sudden, vivid image of the entire party palace being replaced with sleek, minimalist furniture and joyless, screen-based entertainment. "I just wanted to give you a heads up," Mr. Patches said, finally meeting Barnaby's gaze. His eyes held a flicker of something Barnaby couldn't quite decipher. Pity? Guilt? Barnaby stood, the sombreros on the chair rustling softly. "Thank you, Mr. Patches." He turned and walked towards the door, the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. The stale popcorn smell seemed heavier now, the faded balloons sadder. He had a terrible feeling that the party was ending, and he hadn't. The balloon prodigy arrives. The scent of bubblegum and stale popcorn hung heavy in the air as Barnaby meticulously twisted a poodle from a long, skinny pink balloon. He hummed a jaunty tune, a practiced distraction from the gnawing anxiety in his stomach. Lately, Mr. Patches had been different. Distracted. He'd been taking calls in his office with the door firmly shut, a rare occurrence that set Barnaby on edge. Today was no exception. The muffled drone of Mr. Patches' voice carried through the thin walls, barely audible above the whir of the popcorn machine. Curiosity, a dangerous but persistent companion, urged Barnaby closer. He told himself he was checking the supply of blue balloons, conveniently located just outside Mr. Patches' door. He strained his ears. Absolutely phenomenal. Harold. I'm telling you, a prodigy. A balloon artist prodigy. Mr. Patches' voice, usually booming and jovial, was now laced with an almost reverent excitement. Barnaby froze, the half-finished poodle drooping in his hand. A prodigy? What did that mean for him? Chad's got moves I've never seen. Swans that actually look like they're swimming. Elephants with textured skin. He can even make a working Ferris wheel out of balloons. Mr. Patches chuckled, a sound that grated on Barnaby's ears. The kid's a natural. He'll be here next week. I'm thinking of having him take over the weekend parties, give you a bit of a break, you know? Barnaby's heart plummeted. A break? Or a permanent vacation? He imagined Chad, this balloon-bending wunderkind, effortlessly crafting masterpieces while Barnaby was relegated to sweeping up confetti and refilling the candy dispensers. He pictured the children, wide-eyed with wonder at Chad's creations, completely forgetting about Barnaby's slightly lopsided, but always heartfelt, balloon animals. He backed away slowly, the pink poodle deflating further in his grip, mirroring the deflation of his own hopes. The world of Patches' Party Palace, once a haven of laughter and vibrant colors, suddenly seemed colder, sharper. The scent of bubblegum now felt cloying, the popcorn stale and lifeless. He had to do something. But what? The deflated dog. Chad Sterling arrived in a whirlwind of cheap cologne and even cheaper silk. His shirt, unbuttoned far too low, revealed a medallion nestled in a thicket of chest hair. Barnaby winced. Mr. Patches, beaming, ushered him forward. "Everyone, this is Chad. He'll be helping us make balloon animals today." Chad smirked, surveying the eager faces of the children. "All right, Rugrats, let's see if you can keep up." He grabbed a bright red balloon and began twisting with an exaggerated flourish. The air crackled with static electricity. Barnaby watched, a knot of dread tightening in his stomach. Chad's movements were clumsy, his grip too tight. "First, the snout," Chad announced, already sweating. He twisted the balloon with such force that it emitted a high-pitched squeal, causing a few of the younger children to flinch. Barnaby winced again. This was not going well. Not at all. He continued, struggling with each fold and twist. The red balloon contorted into something vaguely resembling a sausage with ears. The children, initially excited, began to shift uncomfortably. A little girl with pigtails pointed. "That doesn't look like a dog." Chad's face flushed crimson. "It's abstract," he sputtered. He attempted another twist, and the balloon, unable to withstand the abuse, exploded with a deafening pop. The children screamed, scattering backwards. Chad stared at the deflated remains in his hand, his carefully constructed facade crumbling. "Ooh! These balloons are defective," he exclaimed, throwing the rubbery carcass onto the floor. He glared at Mr. Patches. "You buy cheap balloons. What do you expect?" Mr. Patches' smile faltered. "Now, Chad, I'm sure." "I'm not doing this," Chad declared, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. "This is ridiculous." He turned to the children, his voice dripping with disdain. "You kids are too much trouble. Go play somewhere else." The children, their faces etched with disappointment, shuffled away. The air in the party palace, once filled with anticipation, now hung heavy with deflation. Barnaby felt a surge of anger. Chad hadn't just failed, he'd crushed their joy. Barnaby glanced at the discarded, pathetic scrap of red rubber. It truly was a deflated dog. A perfect metaphor, he thought, for Chad's entire performance. Replaced. The announcement ripped through Barnaby like a rogue gust of wind, scattering the joy right out of him. Mr. Patches, perched atop a wobbly stack of inflatable dinosaurs, beamed. "And now, folks, a big round of applause for our new head balloon artist, Chad Sterling." The applause was polite, scattered, and noticeably lacking the genuine enthusiasm Barnaby usually garnered. Chad, looking smug, puffed out his chest. Barnaby felt a cold dread pool in his stomach. This couldn't be happening. Had Mr. Patches forgotten all the hours Barnaby poured into perfecting his craft, the delighted squeals of the children, the complex sculptures he'd painstakingly created? "Barnaby," a Mr. Patches called, his voice booming unnecessarily through the park sound system. "You'll be assisting Chad, of course. And taking over some other duties." 3 other duties turned out to be cleaning up discarded popcorn buckets and refilling the perpetually hungry cotton candy machine. The sticky, pink strands clung to his fingers, a constant, cloying reminder of his demotion. Each discarded wrapper, each whir of the sugary contraption, felt like a personal insult. He watched Chad from afar, fumbling with a simple dog, his face contorted in frustration. A small girl tugged at his sleeve, her eyes wide with expectation. Chad snapped, "Just wait your turn." The girl's lower lip trembled, and she scurried away, defeated. Barnaby clenched his jaw. He could practically taste the humiliation. The air, usually filled with the sweet scent of possibilities, now reeked of cotton candy and injustice. He scrubbed at a particularly stubborn stain on a picnic table, the abrasive cleaner stinging his skin. Was this his future? A life of sugary servitude while Chad butchered balloon animals and scared away the children? He glanced over at the puppet theater, the colorful curtains swaying gently in the breeze. An idea, fragile but persistent, began to bloom in his mind. A backup plan, something they'd never expect. A plan that would let his creativity soar, even if it wasn't with balloons. He straightened his shoulders, a flicker of defiance igniting in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end. Maybe it was just the beginning of something even better. The forgotten corner. Barnaby pushed aside a stack of deflated bouncy castles, their vinyl surfaces sticky with dust. He'd been tasked with inventory, a job usually reserved for the perpetually grumpy Agnes, but she'd mysteriously called in sick. Barnaby suspected it involved a bingo tournament and a surprisingly convincing cough. He didn't mind. Agnes usually breathed garlic fumes, and he'd rather face a mountain of discarded inflatables than that. He squeezed past a tower of unused clown shoes and found himself in a truly forgotten corner of Patch's party palace. The air hung heavy with the scent of stale confetti and neglect. Cobwebs draped themselves like ghostly bunting over everything. This was a graveyard for party dreams. In the dim light, he made out the shapes of discarded equipment. A bubble machine, its plastic casing cracked and yellowed, lay on its side. Barnaby knelt, gingerly turning it over. The nozzle was clogged with hardened soap residue, and the motor whirred weakly when he plugged it in, producing only a pathetic gurgle. Next to it was a streamer cannon, its once vibrant colors faded and peeling. A mass of tangled streamers, like a bird's nest of plastic, choked its opening. He tugged at them gently, but they were firmly stuck. Further back, shrouded in a dust sheet, was a karaoke machine. He pulled the sheet away, revealing a console with a blank screen and a microphone that looked like it had been chewed on by a particularly enthusiastic toddler. He pressed the power button. Nothing. Not even a flicker. Just an oppressive silence. Barnaby sighed. More junk. More things to add to the growing list of a broken beyond repair. He was about to turn away when something sparked in his mind. The bubble machine's broken chassis, the streamer cannon's potential for vibrant bursts, the karaoke machine's silent promise of a stage. He imagined the fountain, the dry fountain outside. What if he could use these discarded treasures to create something new? Not a bubble machine, not a streamer cannon, not a karaoke machine, but something more. Something unique. Something magical. A slow smile spread across his face. This wasn't a graveyard. It was a workshop. A forgotten corner brimming with possibilities. He felt a surge of energy, a thrill of creation coursing through him. He grabbed the broken bubble machine, a glint of determination in his eyes. He had a lot of work to do. Secret tinkering. Barnaby's fingers, usually stained with coffee from hurried shifts, were now slick with lubricant. He hunched over the defunct bubble machine during his lunch break, the cloying scent of artificial grape permeating the cramped storage room. The machine, a relic from a bygone era of birthday parties at the arcade, had been deemed irreparable by management and relegated to this dusty corner. But Barnaby saw potential where others saw junk. He traced the cracked plastic casing, remembering the delighted squeals of children chasing iridescent spheres. He carefully disassembled the nozzle, revealing a clogged network of tubes. Armed with a pin and a stubborn determination, he began the painstaking process of clearing the blockage. Evenings were spent similarly occupied. The streamer cannon, a tangled mess of wires and compressed air canisters, became his next project. He carefully unwound the snarled ribbon, his brow furrowed in concentration. The karaoke machine, its microphone riddled with static, yielded its secrets to his practiced touch. He replaced the faulty wiring, humming along to a tune he remembered hearing a group of teenagers belt out years ago. With each repair, Barnaby's vision of the fun zone grew clearer. It wouldn't just be a collection of old machines. It would be an explosion of joy, a haven for laughter. He imagined the bubble machine spewing forth a shimmering cloud, the streamer cannon showering the room in a confetti rain, the karaoke machine amplifying the voices of shy children finding their courage. He knew it was a long shot. Management was obsessed with the sleek, modern games that raked in the most tokens. But the image of children's faces alight with happiness fueled his secret tinkering. It was a quiet rebellion, a refusal to let the magic of childhood fade away in the cold, hard logic of profit margins. One evening, as he tested the karaoke machine, blasting a surprisingly clear rendition of a Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, a floor manager, Mrs. Gable, appeared in the doorway. Barnaby froze, his face burning with embarrassment. "Barnaby," she said, her voice surprisingly gentle. "Oh, what's all this racket, The deflated slug and the dazzling fun zone." The squeals of anticipation died a quick, ugly death. Chad, sweat beading on his forehead despite the air conditioning, held aloft his creation. Tardier. A beautiful swan. It resembled nothing so much as a deflated slug, its long neck drooping pathetically, its tiny balloon eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. A collective silence descended upon the gaggle of 6-year-olds. Even the birthday girl, usually effervescent, merely wrinkled her nose. Chad cleared his throat. Perhaps it's a new, modern take on the swan? Very minimalist. Barnaby, hovering near the snack table, winced. He'd seen Chad struggle all morning. The new head balloon artist clearly wasn't cut out for the job. Shame rippled through him, a potent mix of empathy for the children's disappointment and a nagging feeling of responsibility. He'd suggested the swan. Taking a deep breath, Barnaby straightened his slightly too tight bow tie. "Actually," he said, his voice trembling only slightly, "I have something else. Something even better." He gestured towards the corner of the room, previously occupied by a dusty potted plant and a forgotten bin of mismatched party hats. Over the past few weeks, while Chad was busy perfecting his technique, Barnaby had been working tirelessly. He'd stayed late, skipped lunch, and poured every ounce of his creativity into this. With a flourish, he pulled back the shimmering curtain he'd hung, revealing a dazzling explosion of color and light. Streamers cascaded from the ceiling, catching the beams of a newly installed disco ball. A bubble machine churned out iridescent spheres that floated and popped, filling the air with the sweet scent of bubblegum. A small karaoke machine sat ready, preloaded with every child's favorite pop song. "The fun zone," Barnaby announced, his voice ringing with genuine enthusiasm. The silence broke. A cacophony of delighted shrieks erupted as the children surged forward, abandoning the deflated slug swan without a second glance. They chased bubbles, danced under the streamers, and fought playfully over the microphone. Even the birthday girl managed a genuine smile, grabbing Barnaby's hand and pulling him into the fray. Chad stood frozen, the sad swan drooping further in his grasp. The disco ball glinted mockingly off his stunned expression. Barnaby, lost in the joyful chaos, barely noticed him. He was too busy making sure everyone had a microphone, adjusting the bubble machine, and leading a raucous rendition of a baby shark. For the first time since Chad's arrival, Barnaby felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't entirely obsolete. Chief Fun Officer. The shriek of delighted children echoed through Patch's party palace, a sound that hadn't been so vibrant in months. Mr. Patches, perched awkwardly on a miniature plastic chair, watched in stunned silence as Barnaby orchestrated the fun zone. A kaleidoscope of streamers cascaded from the ceiling, bouncing light onto the bouncing castle and the giggling faces inside. The air crackled with the scent of popcorn, not the stale, forgotten kind, but freshly popped and buttery. Barnaby, a whirlwind of cheerful energy, showed a group of kids how to make animal shadows on the wall with a flashlight. He even donned a pair of oversized sunglasses and led a spontaneous conga line that snaked through the jungle gym. Mr. Patches blinked. He hadn't seen this kind of unadulterated joy in his establishment since before Chad. Meanwhile, near the deflated dreams of the balloon arch, Chad Sterling wrestled with a half-formed poodle. The balloon squeaked pathetically as he twisted it, the latex stretching thin. A small girl pointed and giggled. Chad, face reddening, muttered something about advanced balloon artistry. Bookings skyrocketed. The phone rang incessantly, Mrs. Higgins frantically scribbling in the appointment book. "They all want the fun zone," as she chirped to Mr. Patches, and they specifically ask for Barnaby. The following Monday, Mr. Patches summoned Barnaby to his office. The room, usually a sanctuary of paperwork and quiet contemplation, felt strangely smaller, charged with unspoken anticipation. "Barnaby," a Mr. Patches began, clearing his throat, "I owe you an apology. A big one. The fun zone. It's exceptional." He fidgeted with a pen, avoiding Barnaby's gaze. "The truth is, Barnaby, you have a certain flair. A knack for fun." Barnaby shifted uncomfortably, unsure where this was going. "Chad. Well, let's just say balloon artistry isn't his forte. Turns out he's better suited for their accounting department." Mr. Patches visibly winced. "Which leaves a vacancy. A very important vacancy." He leaned forward, a rare smile gracing his lips. "Barnaby Button, how would you like to be promoted to Chief Fun Officer?" Barnaby's eyes widened. Chief Fun Officer? It sounded unbelievable. You mean it, Mr. Patches?" Mr. Patches nodded, a newfound enthusiasm in his voice. "Absolutely. You're in charge of all things fun. The fun zone is just the beginning. I want you to brainstorm, innovate, and turn Patches Party Palace into the happiest place in town." He stood and extended his hand. "Congratulations, Barnaby. You've earned it.